Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Transfer Portal podcast presented by NoContextCFB. And today we're going to be going over this last week in college football. The last week before rivalry week, we had a bunch of big games we're going to be talking about. I am your host for today, Andrew W. Alongside me, Josh, for the first time on the podcast. So he'll be getting his debut. We also have Doug and Andrew D. So hope you all enjoy, and let's just get right into it. So Josh, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Got the message like, hey, we looking for a fourth co-host, and I was like, all right, I'll just do it. And so I'm here, and I'm excited to be here. I've loved watching you guys, and I'm glad to be a part of the team. So
we're grateful to have you. You've already released some great articles on the website, which you all should check out, transferportalcfb.com. Andrew, Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing good. My flight from Wisconsin literally just landed yesterday. Did go to the Wisconsin-Nebraska game. That was a lot of fun. Did a lot of partying, to be honest with you, man. Now I kind of wish I would have paid the $30,000 in out-of-state tax to attend that university. It was friggin' amazing. But I'm sure, obviously, I'm going to go a little bit more into it. So just know that I'm kind of still on a high right now.
There you go, brother. As for me, I told you guys way back in the beginning, Oregon will lose to Utah. I told you earlier on this podcast, on written article, that this would happen. I told you that they will lose 2 games, and they did. And I am happy I am right. It's my biggest victory on this podcast so far. Other than that, Georgia played an FCS team. Not really much to say. FCS, we're not Florida State. So we actually won pretty convincingly. And then the school I graduated from got smacked by Michigan. So, no, what I expected this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason your Twitter is I only say facts. You do only say facts.
Amen.
Until he talks about food and all that, then Jesus Christ.
My food takes are amazing, bro. I had pineapple pizza just yesterday.
Jesus Christ. Can we just go on with this already? I mean,
hold up now. See, I don't see much of a problem with pineapple on pizza. My problem with Hawaiian pizza is ham because it just dries out so quickly.
I don't do ham.
That's a good thing, though.
I do pepperoni.
Spicy Hawaiian.
Because it works, because it balances out the saltiness of the meat. It also balances the acidity. Balances the taste of the tomato. Creates a nice blend of a pizza.
You're both pissing me off so much right now.
For the record, I like pineapple on pizza, but I think I'm allergic to pineapple because the last time I had pineapple, my mouth was like itching for like 3 hours. So I might just have to cut it out of my life, unfortunately.
Yeah, you might need to get that checked out, bro.
Yeah, I would avoid pineapple if I were you. But this is a college football podcast, so we'll try and keep it online. But we also do love talking about food. Let's just jump right into it. The marquee game of the day, going into the day, at least not ending the day. Ohio State against Michigan State. First off, I just want to say this college game day, you guys suck for not going to Missoula. Missoula that day was beautiful. Game was amazing. And looking back, no one cares about Ohio State, Michigan State. Michigan State got blown out. They were down 49-0 at half. Mel Tucker gave his Heisman candidate running back, 4 carries in the first half? Congrats. You're going away from what's working. You're going away from the reason that you were winning all these games. I have no idea what the heck he was thinking. Maybe, I don't know, but whatever contract they were about to offer him, yeah, that thing got ripped up. I hope he signed it at halftime if it was still there.
Yeah, no, for the most part, we kind of knew going in that Michigan State's pass defense was kind of butt. It wasn't good. It was a matchup nightmare for Michigan State generally. Their passing offense isn't good enough to keep it in a shootout. And as much as we love Kenneth Walker, for the most part, his you can't outrun, at least in this day and age, you can't keep up with a shootout with just runs all day. So I get going away from the run, especially when you give up touchdowns literally every single possession of the entire game. But at the same time, though, you got to keep what's working for you. You have to keep on feeding that beast. But man, have a quarterback go 32 for 35 against you. I mean, it's not really on much you can do offensively. Like it's just you got a shit defense, and I would say it's surprising because Mel Tucker's a defensive guy, but I mean, like we've seen the issue the entire season, so like nobody's really shocked. Michigan State, like Penn State, isn't necessarily a cakewalk. We've seen them struggle with. We've seen Penn State give everybody fits, including Ohio State. So like they better win. And I mean, all in all, it's still a pretty successful season for Penn State. I mean, Michigan State. Like nobody had them 9-2 at this point. It's a really successful season for them, but they kind of want that taste of a New Year's Six, and they definitely need to beat Penn State. Otherwise, it's a season that started off with a lot of promise, but kind of fell off on the break.
Truthfully, I'm going to go ahead and just get my take for it. Well, when the game was going, like for the first half, when the game was going on, I was already driving to Madison. But, but when I got to the bar, shout out State Street Brats, by the way, fantastic. Great establishment. Me and my uncles were watching the game in the bar, and we were kind of just like, what the hell is going on here? And I would pump the brakes a little bit when we're talking about Mel Tucker. Ohio State was a 19-point favorite going into this game for a reason. Granted, yes, they won by 49 and not 19. Everybody knew that Ohio State was going to be the better matchup. They knew that they had the better receivers, they had the better quarterback, the better pass attack. Pump the brakes on Mel Tucker a little bit. Michigan State's win total going into the season was around like 4 or 5, and he's already doubled that. It was a bad game, really bad games. Guess what? Coaches have really bad games. I'm not saying that this is a game where you just let it slide past. I'm not saying that. There is going to be a bit of punishment. This is the type of game that would take you from a potential Rose Bowl bid to maybe not even the Citrus Bowl. You're probably going to be going to the Outback Bowl hoping for that free jumbo coconut shrimp. But at this point, we kind of know what Michigan State's at right now. I think they're still going to beat Penn State. I don't view them entirely differently. Peyton Thorne was massively disappointing. He had among the worst games I think he's ever played in his career. Kenneth Walker had only 6 carries throughout the entire game. He was going into that game. If you asked me who the best player in college football was at that point, it was obviously him. But guess what? Stroud exploded. Our player of the week, fantastic. 6 touchdowns. I forgot what the yardage was at. 500, damn near 500. It's honestly incredible. He's more than the favorite for the Heisman. So
yes.
Yeah, 1 to 2 odds. Okay, minus 200 for the Vegas odds makers. So this for me was just more about Ohio State's dominance than anything. I truthfully don't really take it much more than that.
So, quick question for you, like off the top, like, do you think Walker still gets invited to New York? You think, right?
Yeah, I probably, it depends on how many guys they invite, because sometimes they invite 5, sometimes they invite 3. If they invite 5, I think he's there no matter what.
Okay, because like Stroud and Bryce Young are going to be 2 for sure.
Top two.
Yeah, top 2.
Those they're going to be like Andrew Luck and RG3 in 2011, where everybody knows it's going to be one of those 2. Those are the 3 guys after them. You're there just for the photography and the interviews.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me was that I was waiting, like all season we've been waiting for Ohio State to like consistently like put together like a decent offense, not a decent offensive performance, a complete offensive performance. Because like you see stretches and spurts, but then sometimes they'll have a few drives where it's like CJ Stroud's just not looking that good, or they're not running the ball. Not that I believe in Stroud, I think he's awesome, but like I think last week against Purdue, like against a pretty bad Purdue defense, they like started getting it going. They needed that warm, and then they just came into this game. And yes, Michigan State's passing defense wasn't that good, but like, goodness gracious, I think that was like only 3 incomplete passes from Stroud. That was insane. That was a great performance. And for Michigan State side, like Walker's awesome, but like Peyton Thorne just isn't it when you need to like tear the top off a defense. That's just not the guy you want. So I just think the biggest thing is that Ohio State's offense is like really, really clicking, and that for anybody, including like who they might play in the playoff, if they get to the playoff, I'm assuming they get there. But if they do, I don't want to play them if I'm any defense, except for maybe Georgia. But even then, I don't know.
Yeah, I think at this point we're kind of at the point where it's Georgia, it's Ohio State. I don't see a third team coming in there and being like, oh hey, what's up? We're here too. Bama to me is disappointing. Whoever the fourth team is probably going to get obliterated. And I mean, Bama's not even going to make the playoff. Let's just get that clear. They're going to lose to Georgia in the SEC championship. But say it's like
Not
Cincinnati.
jinxing it till it happens. Not jinxing it till it happens.
Don't. We've said.
Don't.
I feel like we said that in 2018. A lot of people felt that confident.
I'm not confident in anything.
We're not. You never, ever, ever count out Alabama, no matter how much you wanted to. In 2017, I didn't even want them to make the playoff because they didn't even win their own division. Okay, don't ever count out Alabama. If it's a close loss, even I'm not even going to be rolling it out that they don't make the playoff.
I wasn't saying all that. I was just saying Georgia historically is Georgia. That's my whole beef with everything. So, yeah,
just the entire state. The entire state of Georgia. Like, I don't necessarily like root against Georgia sports teams. I don't root for them, but like, I just whenever something starts going good, I'm like, where's the train coming down the track that's gonna derail this? So, but like for all y'all Georgia fans, you Doug and everything, like, I hope you guys get there because you guys need it.
I mean, Georgia's not a historically great sports team when it comes to being in the clutch, but we will say the Braves did just win the World Series. So maybe that's a glimmer of hope for Georgia right there. I just think this team is different. I think that Georgia itself is defensively the best, and their offense is good enough. I don't think it's amazing. I think Stetson's outperformed what everyone thought he would be. I mean, there's a reason he's still playing and it's not JT. I think this team is really good. I don't believe in Bama. Yes, you can always say it's Nick Saban, but you also got to give credit to where credit's due. Kirby Smart's done a great job with that team this year.
Yes. But like to give some sort of like criticism for Georgia, even though Stetson statistically is probably one of the better quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback, not named Bryce Young or Matt Corral in the conference, at the same time, like when you see him play, you'll see those deep balls flutter or die short. You'll see throws being missed. Like at the same time, I don't think JT is healthy enough to be that guy until we get to January, because like he was still having Jordan Palmer work with him as recently as Tennessee a few weeks ago. So he's not all the way there, but at the same time, like Stetson got us through a schedule that was actually easier than expected, because you look at it, Auburn kind of declined. Arkansas was a pleasant surprise, but you know, and in the end, the toll kind of got taken away from them. We avoided Alabama, we avoided Texas A&M, we avoided Ole Miss, like we avoided pretty much all the heavyweights. I mean, Florida stunk this year. Like we avoided all those, and Clemson regressed. So we didn't necessarily get a team that challenges to one possession games outside of week one. So like that's my big worry with them. Like they haven't had that challenge, and Alabama's gonna be probably the first team that might actually punch them in the mouth, and we need to see that response.
Serious question: Who is the best quarterback Georgia's played this season?
Probably Hendon Hooker.
Well, that ain't saying much.
I mean, but he's been great. He's been good.
He's been really good, but like he's not your Bryce.
Exactly.
He's not your CJ. He's not. You know, he's not that level. You know, this is obviously.
Yeah, but you also don't play those guys every week.
I mean, you don't play those.
It wouldn't kill you once.
But you need to play him once.
Like, once for the season.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out in the SEC championship.
And like my only worry defensively is like guys have gotten past the secondary. Like big plays have been available. It's just that the quarterbacks, like we said, we have faced aren't good enough to make those throws. Like the Auburn game, for example, guys are getting past our corners pretty much a lot of that game, but Bo Nix sucks. So, yeah, no, Bo Nix flat out is a terrible quarterback. I mean, I'm wishing that he recovers fully from his injury. Don't wish injury on anybody, but in terms of being an actual quarterback, he sucks. But Auburn was getting open. We just couldn't hit a lick. So, like, Tennessee, at least Tennessee, like some of their guys were making moves and they're able to draw pass interference calls on us. It's just it's an issue that appears here and there. So it's pretty much it in terms of main weaknesses for Jordan. So
Yeah, well, it's why we play the game. We're gonna find out eventually. But I feel like we kind of went off on we went from Ohio State to just talk about Alabama. So that's amazing. Let's go to the next game. Probably the most I wouldn't say surprising because a lot of people did call Utah to beat Oregon like Doug did, but I don't think anybody saw them getting absolutely demolished. Like what happened in that game to Oregon? Like they just didn't do anything right. They were down 28-0 at half after the punt return.
correct.
Just I don't know how the heck. Like I understand Oregon's not a great team. Like I don't think Anthony Brown is that good at all. I think that they were dealing with a lot of.
So
You're not wrong. I was trying to put it lightly. I saw there was some sort of a quarterback award that put him in as a semifinalist or something.
I think it
One
might
of
have
the
been
Rujay.
the was
It's
it the
not
Johnny
David
Unitas?
so,
I think it was the
I mean,
Johnny Unitas Golden Arm. Was that it?
No,
that's
I
the
don't think
one
it
for
was.
seniors. or
Seniors,
is it-
yeah. That's
okay,
the one
if
for
it was
the
one for
seniors.
seniors, it might make sense. But if it was like that overall,
No, because Bryce
thing,
Young was in it.
okay, it might be David O'Brien then. In that case,
No, I think it
yeah.
was O'Brien.
Yeah, that's nasty. That's just
Yeah, it
flat
was.
out nasty.
I don't know, but yeah, the way you said it, he sucks. I think that this offense would have been a lot better if Riddell didn't get hurt. I think he's a big part. I no disrespect to Travis Dye, but he's not CJ Riddell in my opinion. I don't know. This Oregon team, it's just we've known this is coming for a few weeks now. They're just kind of sputtering along the road. You struggle against Cal. You struggle
Yeah.
against UCLA. They had the loss to Stanford, which, by the way, aged awfully. Stanford is putrid. Stanford
Have they even won a
sucks.
game since?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Their last win is against Oregon, and they suck.
they stink.
It's you can't even say anything else because like who cares enough to watch Stanford football? They got throttled by Utah the other week.
Yeah, no, like it's funny. We go from Oregon in the playoff to Oregon not even making the Pac-12 title game.
Yeah,
If they lose, they're out. Like
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
between
which-
Oregon State and Wazoo, depending on the result of the Apple Cup, which is funny because those are battle between two interim coaches, and Wazoo making the title game against the interim coach with the interim coach is actually hilarious. But alas, yeah. But Oregon, that's probably like the worst set of events for them if they lose this week. Because losing two in a row, going from 3 to probably not even top 15 and end up at Alamo Bowl, still Pac-12, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So going to Alamo Bowl instead of playing at the near six or the playoff itself, like it's just shameful. Like I feel bad for Oregon because they've dealt with a lot of injuries, but at the same time, they stink. Like they've been fighting through the skin of their teeth practically the entire season after what? After Ohio State, they've been struggling. Before Ohio State, they were struggling. Ohio State is probably the one game they actually put everything together and looked like an actual competent program. But yeah, no, after that, it's just been Arizona's probably their only other game that they look pretty dominant in.
Colorado to an extent, but it's also
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's a mess. I feel bad for Cal Dorel. But yeah, no, like my thing is if Oregon actually loses to Civil War, I do think Mario might bolt for Miami if that job becomes open. But if it's not, like
I think
This
Manny
is-
Diaz saved his job. I think that he's done enough where he's going to get another year. Or I don't know if he saved his job. I think Van Dyke saved his job.
Van Dyke has been great.
He's been good. He's a good player. If I honestly think if they don't beat Virginia Tech, I think that would be enough to just get rid of Diaz. But I don't know.
They
I
won.
think
They played Duke this week.
yeah, Duke's an easy win.
Yeah, so they're bowl going to be bowl eligible. Like
Yeah.
it's a nice turnaround because De'Aaron King was never healthy to begin the season,
Yeah.
and He's just like, it's time. Like, I'm glad he admitted he's done with football, like for his health, because he's been fried. But yeah, no, like, go ahead.
It would have been amazing to see a full healthy season of De'Eric.
Yeah, but then we went and gotten Van Dyke, and Van Dyke has probably been like their best passer in God knows how long. I remember
Oh my gosh.
Oregon would take either of those guys. I mean, even a 50% De'Aaron King, because like Anthony Brown is awful. That like you guys are like ripping on, like I understand like ripping on Oregon. Like they're not that bad, but like when you're not that good either, you need like everything. They beat Ohio State because like they just ran like the same like handoff to the left like 3 times, which is what happened. And Anthony Brown's like not good enough to like make up. If they had like Justin Herbert still, this team is amazing just because
the thing is like they weren't good with Herbert either. I mean,
that's
true,
they were but like good, I think
like,
with Joe Moorhead in as the new offensive coordinator, like the offense like looked like alive, and then right like the day of the Stanford game, it's like, oh no, we have to go to the hospital, and then they stunk. But then also it showed that Anthony Brown is as good as we thought he was, which was, as you guys are saying and I'm saying, not good. So it just showed like Oregon's really good at like once they get a lead, they might not blow you up, but they'll kind of choke you to death with the defense.
Yeah.
But then after that, like that game showed because like Utah just destroyed them. And it's like, oh, we can't come back because Anthony Brown can't complete 4-yard passes. So we're done. And then they just kind of just died. So, I mean, it's the Pac-12. I'm a Pac-12 fan. We can't have nice things. We're never going to have a playoff team ever again. I bet when they expand it to like 64 teams in like 2095, we're still not going to get a team in. So just how it goes.
We're sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, sorry, Dylan. Just realized that. Does anyone else have any comments about Oregon? I mean, if this has all been kind of expected.
No, nobody cares. Out to the next question.
Okay.
Let's just be honest. That's kind of just where we are. That's just Pac-12. You know, I said this at the beginning of the year during our preview. I said that, you know, once a Pac if Oregon, I'll give Oregon credit this. They were able to settle on the boat a little bit, you know, after that loss to Stanford to keep afloat, I think is what I meant. But now that they have lost and that Washington being as putrid as they have been this year, nobody really cares about the Pac-12 anymore. Once a team stutters out, the whole conference turns to ass. We don't care. We don't care about Arizona State. We don't care about Cal. Wazoo at this point is probably the best story concerning how they've been able to keep up after firing Rolovich. And it's like that is honestly the most noteworthy thing I can really feel like talking about after this Oregon complete, you know, burnout, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, the most notable thing to happen in the Pac-12 in a few years is DTR signing a fan's hat after scoring a touchdown. I think we can all agree on that.
I mean, that was
save Chip Kelly's job, man.
I'd like to give Utah its flowers real quick because like they ran for 208 yards on 50 carries, so that's an average of 4.2, and their long was 17. So it wasn't like they were busting off these big runs. They were just like a little bit here, a little bit there. We're beating up like Thibodeau and Noah Sewell like played as well as they could. They tried the entire 60 minutes, but like they were just getting destroyed. So it's just Utah, the sledgehammer out there. So it was fun to like, as someone who likes watching like a team getting beat up like that was fun. So.
Yeah. And while we're on the track of giving Utah some credit, Devin Lloyd is a dog. That guy he is a star in the making. That dude is freaking insane. Every NFL team should be lining up, just waiting for the chance to draft. I don't care if you have the best linebacker in the NFL. You should want Devin Lloyd on your team. He is that good. Like watching him tackle is like watching art personified to me. It's just textbook. It's clean. It's gritty. I don't know how to describe it. He just watching him play football is fun. That's all I can say. But
yeah,
I don't know. I get super upbeat when I watch good tackling, that and good special teams. I get happy.
Special teams is an art form. Shout out punt god. Shout out punt god.
And like Utah, like Oh, sorry. And Utah, like historically, their linebackers are always like really, really solid, but like none of them have been like supremely athletic. Lloyd is like an athlete. Plus, he's got all that Utah coaching and grittiness and everything. So, first round pick. Okay, I won't say for sure.
No, easy.
Yeah, easy. But then,
Easy.
who knows? At least if he falls out of the second round, I'll be shocked. He at least like pick 35 and up.
He falls out of the first round, I'll be shocked.
If he falls out of the top 25, I'll be shocked.
I don't think he has red flags like character-wise, so he shouldn't fall out.
I think, I mean, me personally, like just off of first impressions, I would probably take him over NoContextCFB.
Whoa.
Hold on, wait. Nakobe is like you could line Nakobe up at corner. That dude is special, like just athletically. Like sometimes he's a little wild, but that dude is like athletically.
Is.
That dude is crazy. Nakobe's awesome.
I
I like them both.
me.
Devin,
You had
Nakobe, if
me.
you guys can see this, we like you both. Okay.
You had me until you went at my dog. Like
No disrespect. I'm just trying to praise Devin Lloyd. I'm not trying to put down anybody
okay,
else.
yeah, you can praise Devin Lloyd without bringing my dog into it. Like
I shouldn't have done that. That's on me. Me.
okay, there you go.
I'm sorry.
Apologize.
They're both dogs, and Nakobe's literally a dog. He plays for the Bulls. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's get around the Pac-12. No one cares, except for the players. We love the players. You don't like the teams.
Hate the conference.
Hate the conference. Hate the teams. Hate everything about it. Also, USC. Get some fans that go to your stadium. Cincinnati.
Yep.
Is Cincinnati? What?
Damn. Houston. Don't forget Houston, bro.
I'm literally
Beat UH first. Beat UH. Then we'll fucking talk. That's simple.
For the listeners, our outline, like the question is, did Cincy's win over SMU solidify their playoff spot? And then like
if they went out.
To get that out there before
If
we
they
just hit them with the
You went out,
Yeah.
sure, but beat COUGARs first, then you got my respect. All right.
So so you got Georgia, who's pretty essentially a lock as long as they beat Georgia Tech. Ohio State, they should beat Michigan and they should beat the Big Ten West representative Minnesota. They should, so it's those two. Yeah, Cincinnati will be over Notre Dame for sure. Oregon losing helped a lot. The main thing is that I am not sure whether a 2-loss Alabama can backdoor in or a 1-loss Oklahoma State, because I do think Oklahoma's too far back, and that double dip actually will hurt them. Like if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State twice, because that's literally their only thing on their resume. And same thing with Oklahoma State in a sense, because it's also weird because of how the Big 12 is lined up. We'll talk about this later. Because Oklahoma State faces Baylor twice and they beat them twice. And it also kind of hurts their resume as well, because that's the one issue I do have with rematches in title games, because you make that team look worse by beating them twice in that way, because they'll bump them down to 3 losses regardless of what happens to whoever wins the Big 12. Like it makes your resume look worse. It's annoying. But what do you think? Oklahoma's too far back, but Cincinnati, assuming they win out, should be fine. I think that last spot comes down to Oklahoma State or Alabama. I think Notre Dame's out. Weak schedule. Everybody that they've played had a down year, which sucks because Notre Dame actually did play them and they won. But think about it. North Carolina stunk. Virginia Tech stunk. USC stunk. Stanford, 2-pack of ass. Like everybody stinks outside the one team that they did face that beat them, and it's gonna be ahead of them. So
Yeah,
I mean-
it's
Oh, sorry, Andrew.
no,
I
you
just-
go.
I just think that I believe in Cincinnati and all that stuff. Like the second half of the question is, are they for real? I think they're for real. Problem is, I don't trust the committee to get their act together because they've proven it time and again they don't like group of 5 teams. They ranked UCF fairly low until UCF like finished off the entire year undefeated. Cincinnati, they jumped them with 2-loss Iowa State. The other group of 5 teams, they've had them pretty low, like Coastal Carolina, Louisiana last year had really good seasons. They kept them really low. They just keep those teams low. So until it's locked and loaded that Cincinnati somehow squeaks in as the 4th seed and it's all ready to go, I'm not believing that Cincinnati's in. Not because of what they're doing. I just don't believe in the committee, which is sad, kind of cynical, but that's just how it's been so far.
This is just my basic 2 cents right here. Okay. Look, everybody that follows me knows that I've been high on SMU the whole year. Okay. And that is true. SMU has stuttered. Ever since I lost to Houston, SMU has not been the same SMU that I would have liked to believe so. They also lost to Memphis. So I am not even taking this win over SMU wholeheartedly serious. You did not look great against South Florida. Some will say that you should have lost to Tulsa. You did at the beginning of the year. You were tied at halftime with Murray State. All right. Now, look, I know that this is September, and I know that we're talking on the now. And yes, I know that they beat Notre Dame. Truthfully, same thing with Notre Dame. Same with what Doug was saying. We don't know how good Notre Dame is right now. We truly will not. And I don't think we will know how good they truly are until we see them in an actual bowl game. And also, when you look at the entire resume as a whole, Cincy is not that impressive. Okay, yes, you beat Notre Dame, but all those close losses, all those close wins that I just mentioned, the fact that you essentially need to become a second-half team in damn near all these games, you need to put up a full performance against Houston. You beat Houston. That is it. Golden ticket. You're Charlie going to the chocolate factory. That is it. All right. I don't give a rat's ass what these rankings are going to be tomorrow night, tonight, if you're listening to this on Tuesday morning. I truthfully do not care at this point. It's probably arguably the most irrelevant CFP rankings of the season. You win against Houston. That's it. And I don't know how much more detail I can go into.
So, question. So you're talking about, like, I agree with the whole premise about how they need to be better, but you can use that same logic for practically everybody in general. Because Alabama's, for the most part, kept teams in games. Like Arkansas game really shouldn't have been as close as it was. A&M, they lost. Like, you could do that. Ohio State practically struggled until they blew out Purdue and Michigan State back-to-back weeks. Oregon, historically, that's whatever. Oklahoma struggled again. Oklahoma State, they've done better the past few weeks, but I remember them struggling against Boise State. I remember them struggling quite a bit earlier on. And then Notre Dame, like, we've seen it. But, like, I'm saying you can use that same logic to everybody.
I'm also looking at a talent perspective. Like CJ Stroud, we know how good CJ Stroud, he's lights it up. Bryce Young, he still lights it up. Desmond Ridder, I feel like a lot of people were viewing him as a dark horse for Heisman.
Yeah.
There was a lot of talk of him being like maybe a potential first-round pick. In my opinion, this season has only diminished his reputation. Okay? Listen, we're talking Alabama versus likes of Texas A&M. Okay, yes, and I know A&M has sputtered quite a bit. We're talking against Mississippi State. And look, I'm a fan of that Mississippi State offense, and they freaking killed them. Okay? Ole Miss, and you know what? The only blemish that I really see on Alabama that I look at it and I'm just like, okay, I'm not convinced, was obviously that 2-point win over Florida. In terms of everybody else, we're talking against Power 5 SEC teams. We're talking Power 5 Big Ten teams. I'm talking about Tulane. I'm talking about Tulsa. Okay, that's not even the same.
Oklahoma
spectrum.
And Ohio State, respectively, struggled against those teams.
I know, I'm aware of that, but guess what?
Okay,
Tulsa still ass in general.
that's true.
And at least Ohio State could still blow out Tulsa out of the water. Okay, Cincinnati was still close to Tulsa. Ohio State, they finished off Tulsa with ease in the second half. Cincinnati did not.
That's fair. I was just pointing out how everybody's had that same struggle at this point in the season. There's only been one truly dominant team, yours truly, and I did that purposely so I can do a shameless plug.
I'm going to get my 2 cents in with Cincy. Cincy, this entire year, I've been doubting because I don't like their offense. I don't think their offense is something that makes you ooh and ah. I think their defense makes you ooh and ah. They've got a lot of great players on their defense. Sauce Gardner is going to be a top 15 pick. Myjai Sanders is a good edge rusher, but you got to prove to me that you can do this more than just once. Like they beat Notre Dame, woohoo! But it's once again these struggles against these teams that you should be blowing out if you believe that you're a top 4 team in the country. It's kind of tough to just get rid of those. Like, yes, it's a good win against SMU, but like Andrew said, it's an SMU team that's not the same as it was 5-6 weeks ago. Tanner Mordecai, I want to say, had like 60-something yards. That shows how great your defense is. But I'm still questioning Desmond Ridder as a quarterback. He looked good against SMU. He looked really good. But I just don't view him as a guy that takes you to that next level. He's a good quarterback in a good system. I don't view him as a difference maker. I don't view him as some sort of otherworldly talent that makes Cincinnati a playoff team. Like, everybody's talking about how, oh, Desmond Ridder, he's the top 5 quarterback in this class. No, he's not. He's got good games, but his biggest thing is inconsistency. He can't do this against bad teams. He can do it against SMU. He can do it against Notre Dame. How come he can't do it against Navy? How come he can't do it against Tulsa?
I remember this SMU defense is actually relatively unwell. This is an SMU team that has relied on the offense to outscore everybody. That SMU defense, even I could have told you for the longest time, was not that good. Remember, that was a team that allowed over 40 points to Louisiana Tech. They had to rely on a Hail Mary to. This was an SMU defense that essentially gave Clayton Tune the best game of his career. I forgot what the total line was, but I forgot it. I think it was like 330 yards and like 4 touchdowns. Best game of his career. This was a quarterback that Houston fans wanted kicked out of the university just last year, So it's like there's just so many external factors that I look at in that aspect that I kind of just like in terms of competition in that AAC.
Yeah, I think for Cincinnati, it's just one, they haven't had a bye since after the Indiana game, before the Notre Dame game. So they've been playing a lot of games too. So I just think they're tired physically. And then I think mentally, like last year, they weren't the big boys. Like they were like, yeah, favorited in the AAC, but like they weren't a playoff contender like they were coming into this season. So I just think they're getting the best from everyone every single week. And that's going to wear on you. Remember, like these are college kids. So it's going to get to you. So I think they have the talent that the whole big thing, I think they could cover if they made it to the playoff, which might not be saying much, but if you go back and look at some scores of those playoff games, like some Power 5 teams didn't cover against Power 5 teams. So I think Cincy could cover. I just think they're tired. So I just think they need a break either way.
Sure.
It's definitely fair, but at the same time, if you believe you're a top 4 team, I still want you to put away Navy. It doesn't really change my outlook on that. They definitely can be tired. It's Navy. It's Navy. You beat them by what? 2 possessions? You beat Tulsa by 8? Come on. But going back to the whole thing of it, the playoff, Cincy's pretty much winning it. I know Andrew talked about you got to go through Houston. You do have to go through Houston. If you go through Houston and go 13-0, you're in. The teams above you have collapsed. Oregon done. Alabama is going to end up being done, in my opinion.
Michigan State gone.
Michigan State has been gone. If we go
Michigan's
back a little bit earlier in the
probably gone. Yeah.
Well, Michigan's not above them, but I know what you mean. They're about to get beat this week. And then even if we go back a few weeks, we had teams like Iowa and Penn State who were in the top 5. We knew that was going to just not go the way that they thought it would. So I think since he's winning in, I think that they can be the 3 seed or maybe the 4. I think if Oklahoma State wins out, goes 12-1, wins the Big 12, they could sneak in just because their strength of schedule is better and they have more than just 1 win, where since he's kind of going off of Notre Dame, where Oklahoma State would have win against Baylor, 2 wins against Oklahoma. And even if they do beat Oklahoma twice, it's still Oklahoma. You have to give credit where credit's due. It's Oklahoma. I can't think of other wins off the top of my head. Boise State's not an awful team. They're not a good team this year compared to Boise State's past. But I think you can definitely make the argument of 12-1 Oklahoma State over 13-0 Cincinnati. But at the end of the day, I think Cincinnati's got to be in the playoff. 13-0.
Great.
So that's enough talk of Cincinnati. I want to just kind of do a little bit of, how Doug was talking earlier about how he called that Utah would beat Oregon. I'm going to call something that I've been saying for a few weeks now. Mullen's going to get fired. He got fired Sunday, I want to say. They didn't even wait till Monday. They got rid of Dan Mullen. I called this multiple times. I had an article released on the website saying, hey, Dan Mullen's on the hot seat. And then even a few days before the Missouri game, or might have been the night before, I tweeted out saying, hey, Florida's going to lose to Missouri and Dan Mullen's going to get fired. That's right. I just know this stuff, apparently. Dan Mullen, I want to address something real quick.
Go for it.
For the people on any social media platform that say, oh, Dan Mullen has one bad year and he gets fired. Oh, this stupid business. I'm looking at one certain Twitter reporter that no one likes. I think Doug knows what I'm talking about.
I know the exact tweet. I saw the exact tweet. I know who you're talking about.
I'm not going to say any names, but I mean, one bad year first off, not bad, horrendous. It's freaking Florida. It's Florida. Florida, we expect, if we have no outside knowledge of what the team is, we expect the name Florida as a program, Florida as a brand. We expect Florida to be contending, not even for national titles right now, because we know that's the Alabamas before this year. It's the Clemsons, to an extent, the Georgias. And then the Oklahomas, always the Ohio States. We expect them to at least be going for New Year's 6. They're fighting for bowl eligibility against Florida State. They're not the best team in Florida. And that's not an overstatement.
To be fair, I don't think any team is really the best team in Florida. If you look at the records, UCF, I think, is the best teams, and they're at 6 wins.
The best team in Florida might be Florida A&M.
Or Bethune Cookman, however you say it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Florida A&M something in 2, which is
they're 9-2, I think. I don't know.
9-2. They're a good team. But Dan Mullen, getting back to the whole one bad season thing. One bad season as a college football coach, it sets up the next years to be harder because it makes your recruiting classes worse. I don't know if anybody paid attention to his recruiting classes.
Dwindling.
Before he was fired, he was already losing recruits. After the LSU game, they lost 2 big recruits in their class. And then after now, or not even after now, this past week, their class ranked in the 40s, out of the 100 and whatever the heck FBS teams there are, 40th, in the 40s, not even 40th. They were ranking below teams like Boston College. Boston College, it's Florida. I mean, Dan Mullen's doing such a bad job there, not even winning games this season, but recruiting. He can't bring in enough talent to help this team that's obviously lackluster. And now he's losing to teams like Missouri. And no offense to Missouri. Missouri's actually a good team this year. I think Drinkwitz has done a good job with that team. He's going to get the best recruits in the nation. I think it's next year, maybe the year after, a wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Yeah, he looked good.
2-9 in the last 11 games against Power 5 teams. I think that's the official statistic. It might actually be worse.
I think
it might be worse than that, actually.
Vandy,
second worst.
And I think it might be us if we're going back a year.
It might be, because it's a last 11. So
because I think Kansas has done better now.
Kansas has done better because they beat Texas and they beat somebody last year. Did they beat somebody last year?
I don't think because when they beat Texas A&M, that was 2019 when they beat Texas Tech. Sorry, they beat Texas Tech in 2019. So I don't think they beat. I'll Google while you guys.
They have a record similar to Kansas,
which is sad. But at the same time, Kansas, might be better than them.
Shout out Lance Leopold. He's one of the highest risers in college football this year. I don't think people are giving him enough
credit. It wasn't
credit.
Kansas. They went winless last year.
Yeah. So I think Kansas was the 1-10, and Vandy might have been a 2-9 team as well because they beat. Was this Power 5 or
Power
just
5
FBS in general?
Power 5.
So because I know Vandy beat Colorado State.
Well, I mean, if it was FBS, then Mullen should have been fired even earlier. But 2-9 does put a little bit of a better silver lining, but
not that
it
good.
It isn't Vandy either, because Vandy's 2 wins this year were Colorado State and UConn.
Oh gosh, I mean, UConn actually got a win, so you got to give them credit.
They
More
beat
than they were
Yale.
expected.
They beat.
I
Yale.
mean,
Yale's among
Yeah.
the better teams in the FCS.
I mean, they were in it with Harvard, and Harvard won the Ivy, did they not?
I thought it was Princeton.
Yeah,
No,
Harvard won on the-
Harvard.
Harvard won on the last second touchdown.
Yeah, I didn't mean the league. I don't know what I'm talking about. But going.
This is
I
why I
don't
don't
know
talk about FCS. This is why I don't talk about FCS because
I don't know how we get from-
what I know.
I don't know how we get from talking about Florida to freaking Yale and Harvard.
They're the
So we
same.
went-
They're on the same level.
It's
right
the
now.
same
That's
carrot
why.
because the reason why we talked about because we were talking about Florida's the number of P5 wins they've had, and we were trying to figure out which teams were on the same level. We thought it was Kansas, we thought it was Vandy, and then we checked their schedules respectively, and it sure as hell wasn't them. So
Yeah, I mean, Florida, like, no matter what, if you go 2-9 against Power 5 teams in the last 11 and you're at a big name program like Florida, you need to be gone. You're obviously not doing anything good for the program. I think that this fire was made too late. I think that if it was made earlier in the season, they might have had a chance at saving some recruits, but now their class is going to be awful for the next 2 years. It's going to be awful. I think they've already lost, I think they lost a 4-star today, maybe a 3, but they definitely lost someone big.
Yeah.
I saw that on Twitter. They're just not going to be good. Let's just get this out of the way. The SEC East is going to be ruled by Georgia, not like we had any other chance of any other team. Like right now, it's looking like Georgia, South Carolina's looking okay. Missouri's looking like they have a chance at being okay. Like
I'll give South Carolina credit because they've been a lot better than I thought they would, especially given that quarterback situation, having like coaches play for them, having guys fresh off the street play for them. Like, hell, next week you probably starting for them, Andrew. Like, they've been pretty good. I got to give Shane Beamer props.
Which
like,
Andrew were you talking to, by the way?
I mean, with the way that's gone, their season's gone, probably both. But
the
like,
quarterback system.
Failed defensive lineman from class of 2016. Hey, I think I got some eligibility, so go for it.
yeah, no, but like on a serious note, like Shane Beamer, even though he looks like doughy-eyed, like he has that innocence of a child whenever he like looks at the camera thinking that something actually good happened to him. Like, I just gotta give South Carolina props. Like, they've been a lot better than I thought they would. No chance of beating us anytime soon, but respectable program that he's building. So
Yeah, he's doing a good job over there. But I have one last thing to talk about with Florida.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Because I don't think that there's a hire
penalty.
that's.
I mean, at that point, it's probably the best option they could do.
Self-inflicted death penalty.
They did that to themselves, but it's like there's not a hire that's sexy enough that makes your immediate recruiting the best. Like I've heard Billy Napier from Louisiana. That's a good hire. It's not a sexy hire. It makes your program better, but it doesn't really help anything short term.
It's a risky hire. That's what I will say.
It is.
Yeah.
I saw something on.
I look
Twitter.
at Sunbelt hires, and I just think Napier should probably, if I was Napier, in just my wholehearted honest opinion, I would wait to see what Luke Fickell does at the end of the year. If Luke Fickell leaves Cincy, I think if he went to Cincy first before taking a major Power 5 team like a Florida, it would help him a lot better. That's just my honest opinion. I feel like he would
agree.
I feel like if he took an upper level G5 school, he would have more security. He would have more say. He would probably have a little bit higher. It would probably be easier to recruit. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you were a 3-star guy, would you rather play for, Napier, Cincinnati, a guy whose hell houses as a Lafayette? I think a 3-star has more appeal to Cincinnati under Napier than a top end 4-star, low end 5-star would to play for him at Florida. If that kind of makes sense, I just think he has a better draw in terms of the recruiting. I just feel like he would have more job security. He would have more backing. It just makes more sense to me for him to go for a higher level G5 than to go straight to Florida and risk getting fired within the next 2 years.
I think Napier's waiting. I think Napier wants LSU though, because LSU, it's LSU. And recruiting the state of LSU, which is one of the best states for talent, it's LSU and no one else. Like Napier's been able to get the other guys. This is why Louisiana's so good. I think he wants LSU because recruiting wise, like you go into Florida, Florida's getting killed in state along with like Georgia, Alabama, LSU.
It's a risk.
If you
Thing
go to
is,
LSU,
none
it's
of
like
the
you've got
Florida
those guys,
schools
though.
are even good at recruiting Florida. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of the same issue that Texas schools have. Like the
Well,
Texas,
Texas A&M is kind of sweeping it up right now, but like in terms of like Texas Longhorns,
Just-
they're
Yeah, no,
out
like-
of it.
before like Jimbo like started to get the ball rolling, but like there was like a period where none of the Texas schools were really getting guys like that. Like everybody was going to Ohio State, or like Bama was taking the pick or two. Like, I mean, but like with Mullen, you like he's a good X's and O's guy, but in terms of like actually managing a roster / being a CEO type,
No,
he stinks. Like that's not his role. Like he doesn't want to recruit. He's not necessarily great at managing like egos. You can have that issue at Mississippi State and they don't care because it's Mississippi State. They're not expecting the world of you. Florida, like when he came in with McElwain, yeah, it's McElwain, yeah. He came in with like McElwain's recruits, like they were doing well. Like Mullen is like as evidenced by the multiple New Year Six trips and wins, like Mullen can coach. He's a historically proven coach. It's just that he's lazy. He's lazy. He's a dork. Like, I'm not being disparaging. It's just like you kind of saw the photo of him dressed as Darth Vader at Halloween. Like,
Yeah.
Dan Mullen's dorky, like
you can't take him
neighborhood
serious.
shticks. It doesn't work at a big school like Florida. You can pull that shit in Starkville, it'll work. You can pull that shit at practically. Honestly, I think he's a good fit at the ACC schools, like the Carolinas. I think it could work there, but like it's not working at Florida. It's not working at the big boys. So yeah, I thought that if he went like, I mean, it was supposed to be a rebuilding year for Florida anyway. If he went like 8-4, he would have been fine. But it's just the issue of how they've lost or how they've struggled. Georgia practically beat them out the mat. LSU had their career record rushing against them. Struggle against Samford. Mizzou, you know how Mizzou got that game-winning 2-point conversion? Connor Bazelak threw off his back foot, and nobody was covering the receiver in the end zone for that 2-point
He
conversion.
leaked out.
Oh yeah, okay, but like yeah, it was off a back foot though. Like you can't be just literally just like chucked it up in the air. But yeah, that shouldn't be happening. Those, I mean, to Mullen's credit, he was making he did make some coaching changes, but Florida's defense is too far gone. But with that, his quotes about recruiting, it's just everything snowballed into one thing where he could have gotten time if he just had a bad season, but bad season plus bad recruiting, it's time.
I think too, you mentioned the defense, just Todd Grantham. He held on with Grantham. He was with Grantham at Mississippi State, and Grantham's not good at defense. There's a story I heard, one of my favorite stories about Grantham when he was at Louisville, is they were losing, and people in the press box, some like a beat reporter for Louisville said, "Up, watch, here come the emotional blitzes. A-gap, watch." It happened. It's like, all right, this one. He called like 5 blitzes in a row because Grantham literally coached via emotion, not by, coaching. So, and Mullen's a great guy. Like he appears to be a great guy, like overall. I just think the problem with being a great guy is you're too loyal. And I think he should have fired Grantham a long time ago. And Mullen also did it to himself, but also doing it to himself is keeping Grantham on. So it's just Mullen, just again, like you were saying, Doug, is just his recruiting, his quotes on recruiting, his quotes on transferring. He's just not built for being at Florida. I think he needs to, like an ACC job would be fine. Just go somewhere, go coach up, go scheme up. He's great at scheming. Just maybe even go to the NFL and just be an offensive coordinator, draw up plays there. I think he'd be good there. But yeah, just as a big time coach, he wasn't it.
Yeah, well, it's the end of the Mullen era at Florida. It's done. Florida fans are probably happy. I mean, this season was just an absolute travesty for them. But let's move on past that. Let's go to an actual topic that's not related to a team. And I know we're all going to have differing opinions because I know Doug has a different opinion than my opinion. How many teams would you like to see in the playoff and why? Let's start with Josh.
All right. So I was like, for the longest time, I was like, all right, just logical. We'll go up to 8, and then like we'll go from there. But just the 12 team setup that they had with like the auto bids and everything, I just liked it just because my just simple brain of like, ooh, automatic bids, make the conference championship games matter like even more. That's awesome. And also, it keeps Notre Dame from getting a bye. Like that's good. I don't like Notre Dame. Just don't award them anything. So I just like the 12, and like even if it doesn't, like even like let's say like realistically the top, well this like the 6 through 12 teams probably won't like actually have a chance at winning it. But like that gives them more money. Maybe we can see more talent, like or like more teams pop up in college football. But I don't know. The 12 just looked cool. Also, like the games on campus, like that's another thing that appealed to me. So like I like the 12. I just want to see the playoffs expand, to be honest. So 8, 12, 6, whatever. Um, but I mean 12 seems nice. Like the current setup that has been thrown around, I like that.
I'll let you go, Doug.
Yeah, I'm the person that thinks that 4 is fine. I've been anti-expansion for the longest time. I don't think auto bids should be part of the game because they're like, if you take a map or if you take a data view of every single conference champion since the turn of the millennium, there's always one that sticks out that doesn't belong. On top of that, there are teams that are 1-loss teams, or in some cases 2-loss teams that are better than conference champs that get auto bids to bowls. Like this year, I mean, most years, at least in the playoff era, you'd have a Pac-12 team that has no business being in a playoff, but they're in playoff because they won a crap conference. Or you'll have situations where it's just ridiculous. Like, even though the committee is garbage at ranking practically everything, if you really think about it, they actually haven't gotten the top 4 wrong in terms of do teams make the playoffs. Everything else, like, and I mean everything else, they've gotten wrong. But 4, I think, is a good number. It's not too taxing on the teams. I think it's just some right mix of money grab / proper viewpoint of talent. And finally, let's be honest. It's 2 extra games in the playoff compared to what we had at BCS. Those extra games aren't good. They have not been watchable. And then you're going to add more games on top of that. Still not going to be watchable. You're probably going to add like what? Maybe 1 watchable game like every so often years. It's just ass.
I'm actually somewhat with Doug here. I'm okay with 4. I'm okay with 6. If you went with 8, I feel like you'd really be twisting my arm right there, but I would allow it. Uh, I'm okay with 4 because I just feel like, what I said about Cincinnati, what will happen between Michigan and Ohio State, it's just a matter of everything's going to work itself out. I feel like by the end of this week and by conference championship weekend, every team that is going to be proven to be a top 4 team is going to work itself out. Cincinnati beats East Carolina and they beat Houston, they're in. It's that simple. Ohio State takes business against Michigan and then they win what will most likely be either be Wisconsin or Minnesota. They're going to be in. Alabama, if you at least keep a close loss to Georgia, I think they're just still going to be in just because of, no one's going to blame them to lose to the number 1 team in the country by that slim margin. And they've been really picking themselves up since the A&M loss. The whole reason why we got this playoff system was because we want the best of the best in, okay? The reason why people did not like the BCS is because there were people who thought teams who were 3 and 4 weren't given a fair shot. Okay, guess what? We're giving those teams a fair shot now. If we're really, truly wanting the best teams in, I don't see how you go any more than 8. If you want to give it to 6, that's fine. You want to tell me that I think after seeing Michigan State this past weekend, we'll see what they do. Well, I want to know like how much they drop. Maybe they go only down to 12. After seeing what Michigan State did this past weekend, do I really think that they deserve an opportunity to be in any playoff format whatsoever? If we go up to 12, Not a chance in hell. Okay. Wake Forest, I think they're going to be out of the top 12 anyways. But do I think that even if they would have won this past weekend, if they were worthy of being a top 12 team, to be given an opportunity to go to the national title game? No. Do I think Oklahoma deserves to be given that opportunity to go? No. Okay. I'm okay with 4. 6, I'd be okay with. 8, you're really twisting my arm. The playoff is supposed to be best of the best. These next 2 weeks are going to work themselves out. We're going to have a comfortable selection of what those 4 teams are going to be. And that's strictly just it. If it's about best of the best, keep it at best of the best.
Yeah, I kind of see both sides of the argument. I see arguments for people who want to keep it at 4. I see people who want 8. I see people who want it 12. I kind of vary, which is not really the most definitive answer. And I understand it's not the greatest answer, but it's like with the 4, yes, you talked about how it's the best of the best. And, we're getting the best teams. We want the best team to always win the national championship. With going to 6, it gives the top 2 teams an advantage where they get the bye. And then we get to see teams 3 through 6 duke it out, see who we get in the top 4. With 8, it's a little bit weirder for me just because I don't really view that much of an advantage for the top teams. And I think that if you are going for a larger playoff, you would want to kind of give the teams 1 through 2 or 4 some sort of an advantage. That's why I kind of like 12 a little bit more than 8, is it gives them an advantage. It makes the earlier football mean more. But at the same time, I can also understand, hey, no one cares about teams 9 through 12 because right now, what would 9 through 12 be like? Oklahoma. Oklahoma's not going to. You can't even say Oklahoma's not going to beat anybody because we all have seen upsets and stuff can happen in college football. No one came into the, say, for example, Alabama A&M game. No one thought A&M was going to beat Alabama. It's Zach Calzada, and Zach Calzada ended up dotting up Alabama. Like
Miracles do happen.
Miracles do happen. We could see, and maybe this is just that part of me, we could see Minnesota win something. It's probably not, but we could see Minnesota unseat Oklahoma.
I was about to say that too.
Minnesota beating Oklahoma. And here's the other thing I'll say with like a 12 team. I want to see on-campus playoff games. I want to see the atmosphere that brings to college football. I want to see a Red River, not that Texas is going to be in the playoff. I want to see a Michigan, Ohio State at the Horseshoe or at the Big House. I want to see something at Penn State so I can see a whiteout playoff game. I want to see something insane. I don't care about these neutral site garbage games that have zero atmosphere where the only thing you're watching is on the field. I want to see fans having fun. I want to see something at the stadium. College football isn't just about the football. It's about the atmosphere, the vibe, just everything about it. It's amazing. That's why I love college football. It's not just football. But when you bring it to a neutral site, you take off half the experience. Football's amazing. We all love football. We all love college football. But admit it, we love college football. If you like college football over the NFL, that's some sort of an opinion. But it's because college football is more than just football. It's not just having an alliance towards a team. It's a college. It's a lifestyle. We spend years at these colleges. We feel attached to them. Like with an NFL team, I've been a Packers fan my entire life. I've felt more attached to Minnesota my entire life because A, I've lived here, and B, I go to the school. I feel some sort of an attachment. Can I describe it? No. I want to see that in playoff form. If your team has a home playoff game, I want to see that atmosphere. But going back to the whole teams thing, if we do an 8 team, which I don't know if that would happen. I think if the playoff goes to an expansion, it's going straight to 12. I would like to see a home playoff game for the first set of games. For the 8, do that, and then you can have whatever bowls in the middle, and then have the national championship. I just want to see something so we're not commercializing straight up college football. Obviously, everything's a money grab. I want to see us keep a little bit of just the energy that this brings, that makes us different than other sports leagues where it's just sports, where this is something different. It's more than just football. It's college football. Sorry for rambling. I just had to kind of get everything out there.
Let it all out, brother.
I'll say I favor 12 for a lot of the things Andrew said. but also because I'm kind of a chaos agent, and I'd like to see chaos where it's like, yeah, I mean, would I like to see the best team win? Of course, but like, do I care if the best team wins? It's like, no. Like, that would be awesome to see, like, just the one time, like, a UCF can play at Alabama and they somehow beat them. Just the one time, I will take it. It's like the next 20,000 games are awful. I will take that one time and I will hold it dear to my heart forever. So that's why I want the expansion, along with everything Andrew said.
People underestimate the amount of upsets that can happen in college football. I'll just say that. Everybody expects, like when we released the what brackets would look like on our Twitter, T-Portal CFB on Twitter, go follow it. We were talking about what matchups would look like if the season ended today and this was a 12-team bracket. It seemed like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this matchup is easy," or "Oh, this one, no question." Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Because it seems that stuff can happen that you don't think happens. That's why we play football. If we were just assuming, then what's the point of playing the game? Like, we would just crown Alabama every year, or we would crown Clemson the last few years. I feel we got to kind of play football to see who's the better team. I don't think you can just go off of who do you think is better, because at the end of the day, what you think is better and what is actually better isn't always the same thing. But I digress. I've gone too far on that. I apologize, but let's go a little bit different. Let's talk about some conferences and this upcoming week. Which division from this last week of games has set itself up for the wildest finish this weekend? Let's start with Andrew on this one.
Could be a bit of a homer here, but I'm going to go ahead and just say the Big Ten East. I mean, it's essentially just straight up Michigan versus Ohio State. I just like these clear-cut scenarios. I mean, like we spoke a little bit before off camera about just how Purdue can get involved with this. I mean, obviously they're not going to win the Big Ten West, but like how they can still fuck up, both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Well, no, Minnesota needs. I'm going off track here, but I just like just a straight up win and in type scenarios, and that's what we got here with Ohio State and Michigan. This just feels like the most complete Michigan team in a really long time. This feels like a Michigan team that you can actually look at and say, yeah, I'm a little sold on them. Yeah, I actually think they can play ball. They got a really good stable of running backs. They got one of the best defensive players in the country with Aiden Hutchinson. I think that this Michigan team is somewhat for real. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, but I still think Michigan can still keep this game a little close with Ohio State to the point where it can be interesting. I'd expect Ohio State to pull away, but it's honestly just that simple. I just really someone feels refreshing that you kind of go into a Michigan Ohio State game and you kind of think to yourself, okay, yeah, Michigan actually has somewhat of a chance. You actually feel good about a Michigan team.
I'll go next because I'm going with the opposite division. I'm going to go with the Big Ten West. Probably another homer pick, but it's such an interesting division to me. You have Wisconsin, who started 1-3. They're now the favorite to win the division. You have Iowa, who started undefeated, had the top 5 win against Penn State at home, and then they've just kind of sputtered the last few weeks. They lost to Purdue. They lost to Wisconsin. They haven't looked that good. Their offense is still, in my opinion, inept. Their defense is still good, but Nebraska's not like an easy team to play. They play everybody close. They lose every game by 1 possession.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure they're like the best team in terms of like bettors for Vegas because I feel like they cover almost every single game that they play in.
They have a positive point differential still, I believe.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't surprise me. But
shout out to Northwestern for stinking it up against them.
Northwestern is awful. Yeah. I don't know how, but like they'll play good teams close, but they'll also play bad teams close. Like they kept Ohio State to just a 9-point loss, but then they'll be close with Northwestern. I don't know. And then they also had the loss to Illinois at the week 0. That was just weird.
Illinois is also a weird team because they also play teams close.
Heck, they beat us. They beat Minnesota like not even handedly, but like handedly. We couldn't.
Wasn't that in Minnesota too?
Yes, don't remind me. I was at that game.
You brought it up.
Green.
You brought it up.
Shut up.
Now he brought that up. So
I mean, because I got to bring it up. Bowling Green beat Minnesota in Minnesota. I love saying that.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun when we beat y'all on Saturday, and I'll say you lost to a team that lost to Bowling Green.
Yeah, and it'll
But-
be fun when I screen record this part and I can show it up at Saturday night around 6:00.
Yeah, well, 6 o'clock, I'll be on the field with the team celebrating with the axe, chopping down the
With
goalpost.
with depression. That's what you're gonna be celebrating with.
God
Probably,
damn.
but
Yeah.
no problems with that. Yeah, I just think it's also kind of a chaos factor. You got Wisconsin really controls their own destiny, but if they don't win, everything else is up for grabs. Purdue doesn't have any chance. Iowa would need to beat Nebraska, but on the off chance that Wisconsin loses and Nebraska somehow doesn't lose by one possession and Purdue wins, the team that lost to Bowling Green in Illinois makes it to the Big Ten championship, which doesn't make sense to me. As a fan of this team, it doesn't make sense to me. As someone who's watched every single freaking second of their season, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know how on earth they're allowed in the Big Ten championship. Heck, I'll take it, but I don't know how they'd be allowed.
Yeah, no, like it's the beauty of rivalry week. Can screw up everybody's conference championship weekends. I have 2 races, actually 3. So I'm just going to run through it quick. First of all, ACC. Pitt has locked up one division. The other division is up for grabs. The Atlantic between Wake Forest, NC State, and somehow Clemson. So Wake, it's simple, winning in against Boston College because Wake had to be 6-2. If they lose, they're done because they lose tiebreakers. NC State beats North Carolina, and Wake loses, they're in. And if both Wake Forest and NC State lose, Clemson's in because they finish a conference schedule. Clemson faces South Carolina this weekend. So Clemson pretty much can't do anything on their end. They just need to root for 2 losses. And both of these are totally possible. North Carolina still, for as much crap as we give them about the fact that they can't play defense, they can't block to save their lives. Sam Howell's pretty damn good. And NC State's always good for 4 losses a year. They're at 3 right now. So do the math there. And then Wake has looked pretty shaky these last few weeks. Granted, Boston College hasn't really been healthy like that as they were earlier in the season. And they did lose last week, I believe. So it's not looking good on that end, but it's still totally possible. Second one, I'll give you the Pac-12 North. Oregon controlled their own destiny as recently as a week ago. They still do. If they win, they're in. But if they lose, they're out, just like Wake Forest. And then this will go between Washington State and Oregon State. If Washington State beats Washington, Apple Cup, they'll be in the Pac-12 title game with the interim coach. If they lose, Oregon State's going to the Pac-12 title game. It's actually pretty neat that you might have an interim coach, or you have a coach taking over one of the arguably worst jobs in the country when Gary Anderson left Oregon State as crap as he did. And Oregon State being bowl eligible right now and being this good, it's actually pretty insane. And then finally, let's go to the Mountain West. We got our Mountain West Mountain Division. 3 teams, Utah State, Air Force, and Boise State, all have a lot to play for. If they all win out, Air Force is in because they had a tiebreaker. All lose out, Air Force is also in because they had a tiebreaker. Boise State loses and Utah State and Air Force win. Utah State's in. Utah State and Boise win and Air Force loses. Boise's in. Boise and Air Force win and Utah State loses. Air Force is in. Basically, out of all these combinations that happen, it's going to be Air Force. But again, like you still have options for Utah State and Boise State. So 3 teams being in a race for one division slot is actually pretty intriguing. Conference championship weekend's just actually pretty sick, and rivalry weekend, it's beautiful. So all of these races are pretty much intriguing outside of, surprisingly, Michigan, Ohio State. So
Yeah, let me jump in on the Mountain West because it's not just that, it's also the West Division because San Diego State and Fresno State, like there's so much with the Mountain West where like I didn't go like fully in depth to see all the tiebreakers. I just know that San Diego State and Fresno State on the other side are competing. And I think the big thing is that Fresno State plays Thursday. So they play Thursday. Boise State plays San Diego State Friday. Utah State plays. Is this Friday? Yeah, Friday. And so, and Air Force plays Friday. And I think the big thing too is that this is one of those conference championships that's played at the top teams like home stadium. So it's not just playing to get in; you're playing to host, and that's huge. Like a few years ago, like Hawaii was really good, but then they had to go to Boise State, and a bunch of Hawaii people going up to Boise State at this time of year. It's chilly, it's cold, and like Hawaii just didn't look like themselves. So it matters. And also with these games like kind of kicking off, like the Boise State game, San Diego State game, and then Utah State kicking off at like within an hour of each other, there's going to be some scoreboard watching too, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's more than just the Power Five. We also got Mountain West. That's very interesting. Kind of want to speed this up a little bit. Who's a player who had a performance that hasn't been talked about this last weekend? Let's start with Doug.
Kobe, I think it's Kobe Pace from Clemson. That last game that he had against Wake Forest, you got to give him, he had 191 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns in Clemson's upset win. DJ, and then I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. DJ, as usual, pretty pedestrian for Clemson, but Pace pretty much allowed them to have a dimension that they didn't really have as much against Wake. Granted, Wake's defense also stinks, but it's a nice, refreshing thing to have against Wake Forest. And like I said, upset win, keep your stakes and a division title alive. Got to give props to him doing this against a good Wake Forest team.
You want to talk about Braylon?
Dude's a fucking beast, man. Like, I saw him like this is a dude. Like I said, I know I've said it many times. The dude's from my hometown, and when a dude from your own hometown is killing it, it just makes you love the guy even more. The dude had 200 yards, over 200 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He was bulldozing that Nebraska defense. 10 yards a carry, 10.4 yards a carry to be honest. And it was just honestly spectacular just to see it in person at the camp. And the sad part is, he wasn't even Big Ten player. He wasn't even Big Ten freshman of the week because of, CJ Stroud, of course. I mean, but listen, man, there's got to be an asterisk on this, man. Braylon Allen should still be in high school, okay? He was supposed to be class of 2022. He class of 2021. He has a 4.0 GPA. He's 17 years old, and he's 240 pounds. This dude's a fucking beast, man. Like, I don't know how the Big Ten voters are going to have a tough time voting, first team, second team, third team, because the Big Ten running backs have just been phenomenal this year. I am just super excited for this dude. And I just feel like he doesn't get enough media attention until you actually turn on the Wisconsin game. Then his name gets mentioned. I am just super excited for this dude for the future.
Wasn't he not even the starter to begin the year?
He was like 5th string.
Yeah.
Starter was Ches Malusi.
Yeah.
Hurt now. Second string was Jalen Berger.
Kicked out.
Yeah, that's the nice way to put it. Isaac Garendo injured for the year, hurt his leg. Julius Davis, who is a third year running back out of Menominee Falls, he's playing now. So he's finally getting his touches. So going into the season, people didn't even think he was even going to be playing for the season.
Oh, and yeah, and he's 17. He is 17.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And also the thing that's crazy is that he was originally recruited not even to be a running back. He was supposed to be a safety when he was at 200 pounds. He got to 240. Bang, they decided to put him at linebacker. Enrolls in May. Shows up to camp in August, and Paul Chris is like, yeah, we're going to turn you into a running back.
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm just now realizing, how are both of our teams just getting so unlucky with running backs this year? I mean, not for you, because you found Braylon Allen, but just with losing running backs, that's just
because your quarterbacks can't pass.
Brutal sport. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, the fact that...
Screw Mike Sanford.
I mean, it's just kind of, like, there was obviously a point in the season where it was just like, it's 3rd and 8, and it's like you don't even feel comfortable Grammer's throwing past 5 yards, you'd rather just give it to a running back. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on a 10-year rant about Mike Sanford ruining Tanner Morgan, but I digress. I'm gonna give my flowers to Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, we didn't really talk a ton about him. The dude had 14 receptions for 202 yards and 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns against UVA in a game where Pitt won this game and they clinched their spot in the ACC championship. The number one play I want to talk about is the last touchdown he scored. Everybody was giving Kenny Pickett his flowers, and due credit, Kenny Pickett's freaking amazing. But he underthrew that ball. That ball's a pick. Jordan Addison went over the DB, reached over him, it seemed like, and then he pulled it away and then ran into the end zone. That play is fully on Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison needs to be talked about more. He's one of the best wide receivers performing and playing in the nation this year. I feel we're not talking enough about him. We're kind of more leaning towards Kenny Pickett because it's such an amazing story. Kenny Pickett's been there forever, and now he's finally turning into this a really great quarterback that he is. And we're not giving enough credit to the guys that are catching those balls. And I think Jordan Addison needs some more credit.
Yeah, and I was listening to the Pittsburgh game on the home broadcast for Pittsburgh. So because had so many other games going, and to hear the announcers describe that play, because they were like, "Oh no!" Like you can hear in their voice, "Oh no, that's a pick." "Oh no, he caught it." "Oh no, he's gonna score!" Like, and then you go back and watch it. Like Andrew's description and my description, like go watch it because our descriptions like don't even fulfill like how awesome that play was. I'll jump real quick to our UTSA Roadrunners led by Frank Harris. Frank Harris tossing 3 touchdowns, 323 yards. But the biggest thing was, undefeated season and everything, but they're playing UAB at home, rocking Alamo Dome. UAB had only one loss in Conference USA, and if they would have beaten UTSA, I think they would have had the tiebreaker and then like all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Down 4 points. UTSA gets the ball back with 1:03 to go. My ESPN Plus stream is whacking out. I'm trying to refresh it, and I'm able to watch Frank Harris lead his team down the field. They get down to 3rd and goal at the 1, drops the shotgun snap, is able to pick it up, lobs it to the end zone for a touchdown. Not only like his performance, like overall, but just that final drive by Frank Harris and UTSA, like that was one of the coolest games of the year for me. So like Frank Harris and UTSA, just bravo, guys. Well done.
Add one quick name to that. Zachary Franklin's a beast. He is so good. There's so many good wide receivers. Like everyone, it seems like is talented in the nation. Just Zachary Franklin. He had that one sick catch. I don't know if it was a touchdown. I can't remember, on the left sideline, one-handed. I couldn't tell because I was watching and there just wasn't a broadcast, or not a broadcast. I wasn't commentating. I was watching on mute.
Trust me, the audio was just horrendous. Everything about ESPN, it's bad.
Was it worse than New Mexico State UTEP game, week 0? That broadcast?
I was going to say Baylor, Texas State level, because that was bad.
Oh, that was bad.
The announcer like kind of sounded like an off-brand Coach O. So
yes, that's what
now,
it was.
See, in a weird way, that could work, but also not.
They thought the game was over, and they didn't even kick the extra point yet. There was 4 seconds left. Like, that's how bad it was.
Also, now I'm thinking of Coach O calling football games now that his coaching career is at where it is.
Yeah. One thing I will say, UAB is full of cowards. You have to go for it on 4th and 1. Don't take the delay game. Don't. Go for it on 4th and 1. You get it. You bleed the clock. Game's over. But nope. Play a game, punt. UTSA wins it at death. Just coward decision making right there.
You got to trust your offense on that one. It's 1 yard. If you know that great saying, if you can't get 1 yard, you don't deserve to win. That's simple as that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and speed this last segment up. We're gonna go a little contender or pretender. This isn't contender for who's gonna win the playoff. This isn't contender for who's gonna make the playoff. This is just contender. Are they a contender? What's your definition of a contender? That's all subjective. Is it a good team? Is it someone who you think can do something with these last few weeks of the season? It's whatever. I just want to know your opinion about these teams. We're going to start off with a team that not a lot of people saw going into the season as where they would be, Oklahoma State. Let's start with Doug. What's your opinion on Oklahoma State right now?
Defense contender, offense pretender. I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep it short. Like, I don't think that they're going to do anything, make noise, but their defense is actually legitimately good, like up there with Wisconsin and Georgia in terms of being one of the best defenses in the country. Give them credit for that. Offense, I don't think that they're worth anything worthwhile. I do think that you can slow them down. Like, they're not really anything to write home about. Granted, they did put up 63 against TCU, I think 2 weeks ago, but TCU also is kind of they're weird because they beat Baylor, but at the same time, they also get turned out by everybody. So, yeah, don't trust Oklahoma State offensively, defensively, great, not a contender overall.
Oklahoma State, what do you think?
A little bit similar with Doug. I mean, truthfully, with their offense, it's literally just going to be running the ball. That's all you're going to do. I think their defense is going to go to the point where they could neutralize a very good offense. I don't anticipate them making the playoff. If they were to make like a Fiesta Bowl or a Sugar Bowl, depending on how all that works out, I think they can neutralize a really good offense. If they were to win it, they'll win it close, nothing spectacular fashion. If they were to win one of those bowl games, we're just going to forget about it in a week.
Josh, anything else to add or
All right.
say differently?
I know we're kind of keeping it short, so I'm just going to keep it short and then we'll move on. I have this Oklahoma State shirt. It's a highlighter. I have no idea why. My friends got it for me. I'll just keep it short. I'll just say, you know what? Contender. Moving on.
I kind of agree with Doug, contender defense, pretender offense, but I think that their defense can kind of overshadow their offense at times in a good way. So I'll give them the contender for now. I want to see what they do against Oklahoma. Next up, I know what Andrew's going to say. The other one, Cincinnati. Let's just start with Andrew. What are you saying?
Well, I mean, I think you're going a little harsh already on. I mean, I'm not saying that they're a pretender. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's an unimpressive string of wins. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just be honest with you. I'm not going to answer this question because if you beat Houston, you're a proven contender. You'll lose to Houston. You beat Houston, proven contender. Lose to Houston, proven pretender. That's honestly it.
Doug, what do you got?
Sorry. So take my Oklahoma State copy paste. I'll copy paste an answer, but I do think Cincinnati's more of a contender than they are. So put me a contender, but the reasoning be copy paste.
Yeah, copy paste. That's literally it.
See nothing wrong with that. I fully agree. What do you got, Josh? On Cincy.
Contender question mark.
That may be the best answer I've ever heard. I think we can just stop everything with Cincinnati right there. Let's go back. Let's go Oklahoma. Let's go back to the Big 12. I'm going to start on this one. I'm going straight up pretender. I am not high on Caleb Williams at all. I don't think he's that good yet. He's a freshman. We can use the word yet. He's not that good yet. I don't think he's a very good thrower of the football. He's got electric running. I just don't think he's there for throwing the football yet. I'm going to go pretender on Oklahoma.
Pretender, next person, go.
I have no idea why. Oh, sorry. I have no idea why we're talking. No idea why we're talking about Oklahoma here. Pretender. Don't even bring them up in the playoff conversation ever in the history of the playoff. Next.
Pretender. Don't be surprised if Lincoln Riley does end up somewhere else after this year.
Now, see, my only thing with that is why would Oklahoma, what would LSU provide to Lincoln Riley that Oklahoma can't? Because I don't think that you can really say money, because Oklahoma makes money. What would LSU provide that Oklahoma can't, that Lincoln Riley would view as?
In some years, a defense.
SEC.
I just think it's
I know about Oklahoma about to be joining the SEC. I mean, I just think Baton Rouge is also a better culture than Norman is right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of really essentially it. I mean, Would you rather
just
spend
think-
a Would you rather spend a week in Baton Rouge or just spend a week in Norman? I mean, I'd rather go to Baton Rouge. Better food, better culture. I think whenever I look at LSU, I just see a bit of a. I'm not gonna say bigger brand, but I just think in terms of like the modern game, I just think they have a little bit more pull than Oklahoma does. That's just my honest take on it.
I just think it's recruits. Like one of those stories, like I love to say, is like from Barton Simmons, who used to work at CBS Sports and now is at Vandy as basically their GM. LSU, you go to like the state championship game, and everyone's either purple or gold, or there's some kind of Tigers. So even from an early age, like it's just in their head that you're gonna get a lot of these awesome recruits in Louisiana. So I just think that it's recruiting. That's all college football is. Like a lot of college football is recruiting. I think LSU, like the talent you can get from there, the starting from there is just amazing. So
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. I mean, let's just go to the next school. I feel like we can kind of have a similar argument with Alabama. Let's start with Josh on this one. Do you think they're a contender or pretender?
until I see them eliminated, I'm saying Alabama's a contender.
Doug, are you gonna go along with what you said earlier about Alabama? Just don't count them out until they're done.
Yes. Ditto to what Josh said. That's literally it.
Andrew, are you gonna say anything different?
Carbon copy, cut and paste, whatever you want to say. Yeah, that's it. I mean, never count out Alabama until they're actually out.
I'm not going to count them out. I'm not going to say that they're still a contender, but I don't think that this is the best Alabama team. I just think that this is a Alabama team that's more vulnerable than years past. I'm not going to count them out. I'm going to be more counted in on Georgia, though. That's what I'll say. I don't even know if you can use the term counted in. I don't know if that means anything, but it means something to me. So the last team we're going to talk about is Notre Dame. Whether you want to talk about them possibly make the playoff or if you think they're good, let's start with Andrew on this one. What do you think about Notre Dame?
Zero chance in hell that they're a contender for the playoff. They'll probably make a Fiesta Bowl. Once they make the Fiesta Bowl, they're going to get smacked pretender.
Doug?
Honestly, they're in a weird realm where they just exist. Like, we know that they're not a contender, but nobody thinks that they're a pretender because nobody has that kind of high expectations for them at any point of the season. So they just exist. They're just there. They're like, I'm trying to think of the most plain thing possible, but that's what Notre Dame is.
They're upper level purgatory. That's what they are.
Exactly.
Josh, you got anything to add?
Yeah.
Or were you done, Doug?
They're not contenders or pretenders. They're frauds. I love their
Oh.
uniforms, but they're frauds, continually frauds. I don't like Notre Dame. Get him out of here.
Yeah, I don't think Notre Dame's that good of a team, but I think there is a world where they can make the playoff, which is sickening to hear. But
And then they get smacked 42-7 in the semifinals
easily.
to Georgia.
Easily. But if you think about it, if Alabama loses, which we've gone on that topic enough, then it's Georgia, Ohio State, or whatever Big Ten. If Michigan somehow wins, then it's if Oklahoma State loses, and Oklahoma is, in my opinion, a little far back in the rankings, is a one-loss Notre Dame getting in ahead of a one-loss Oklahoma when there's everybody else, which is 2 losses.
Yes.
I think so.
We're not going to like it, but yes.
The playoff committee likes shiny things. Notre Dame has the shiniest helmet in all of college football. They will see it and they'll just be blinded by it. And like squirrels to shiny things, they'll just pick Notre Dame.
Wait, squirrels like shiny things?
Yeah, squirrels like shiny things. I think so. Or am I confusing it? I don't know. Whatever animals like shiny things.
I've never heard about squirrels liking shiny things. That's interesting to me. I don't know why, but it's interesting. I feel like that's all we need to talk about with Notre Dame. They're a weird team. They haven't played a super great schedule, but I mean, the one team that they played, they lost. I think that about wraps it up for this review of the week. I know we got off topic a few times, but hopefully y'all still enjoyed. Unless someone else has anything to add, I think we're good to wrap this up.
Real quick, if we're going based off of I just want to say, because I really didn't talk about it much, Madison, Wisconsin, badass college town experience. Highly recommend it. And watch out for that article soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Madison as a Minnesota fan. It is a nice city. It is a nice college town. I'll always prefer Minneapolis, even though it's not a college town at all. But I'll still take my Minneapolis. Doug, Josh, you got anything to add, or are we good to take care of business right here?
Folks, we got 2 eligible bowls this weekend. We got Florida State, and we got Rutgers, Maryland.
Like,
For my sake, Maryland should win, but I do think Rutgers is a better team. You hear how
Matt
bad
Riser
I
for Heisman.
I still can't even think about Didn't Maryland start like 4-0?
They always do this, and then they stink against any sort of decent competition. I think our only conference wins so far have been Indiana and yes, Indiana
that's it.
and no, because we beat Illinois on the last second field goal.
Oh yeah. Wait, so did you start 3-0 then? Because who am I thinking of? So I thought, or you all started 3-1, I think.
Yeah, it was.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was so long
Uh,
ago. It's also Maryland.
yeah.
No offense, but no one cares about Maryland besides.
No, I
People
mean
from
I
Maryland.
went there and I
Yeah.
don't care enough. So yeah, no, we started 4-0 and then we just lost everything since. So outside of
Yeah.
Indiana. So
Everybody beats Indiana. It's Indiana.
yeah.
What a thing Indiana was. People had high expectations, and they were about to go 2-10.
I knew from the jump that they were bad though. So
I feel like we all had that feeling that they were kind of fluky, but 2-10.
injuries too, but yeah.
Injuries, but at the same time, like 2-10. Do you got anything to add, Josh?
Matt Riser for Heisman. Adios, y'all.
He is the best player. Like you can't name a player that's more dominant in his position than Matt Araiza. That's going to end it for the Transfer Portal podcast. Hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to follow everybody on their socials if you're watching the YouTube. Click like and subscribe on the YouTube. Whatever form of listening you're doing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you follow. Just do all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, hope you all have a great day.